Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. Welcome to Wicked Wednesday, where we discuss all the new comics that's coming out this week. Every Wednesday is like Christmas for us nerds because that's when the new comics come out. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. But here's some other information first. If you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok yet, then you should. It more than lives up to its hype. 4.5 out of 5 stars. I believe the first two Thor movies were trying to be like Lord of the Rings with a romantic subplot, and it failed. This movie is probably more inspired by Guardians of the Galaxy. By having Thor work within the team. Seriously though, Marvel is really killing it with the movies. Hopefully Justice League will be as powerful or even better. I'm not one of those trolls that wants Marvel to succeed and for DC to fail. I want them all to be good, regardless of what company is making it, because I want more comic book movies, not less. Seriously, I could watch a comic book movie every month. And saying that, now it's time for New Comic Day, and DC Comics is giving us Batman number 35, and is written by one of the fastest rising writers in comics in Tom King. The art is currently being drawn by Joelle Jones. She's only the second woman to ever draw Batman in his main title. The first was Becky Cloonan back in 2011. And it looked like this. That's pretty good, don't you think? There's also a Tony Daniel variant for this issue, which looks like this. Next up is Batman Who Laughs number 1. This is a one-shot and a spin-off out of the Dark Knight's Metal series. If you like monsters and horror, then this is definitely for you. Next up is Super Sons number 10, and this series has been very well executed. It's not too kiddie and it's not too grimy either. There's also a cover B variant by Dustin Nguyen, who's best known as the artist's own Descender, where he has won multiple Eisners for his art. Next up is Superman number 35, and that's his son rocking the cover on this as well. Steppenwolf, the big bad in the Justice League movie, will be making an appearance in this as well. It's got a cover B version which has this Justice League variant, which looks excellent. November 17th, see you there. Next up is Wonder Woman Conan number 3. Two of the greatest fictional warrior characters ever created in the same universe, male and female. You gotta love this. There has the variant shown here, but the main cover A is fine. Mullet Conan and Princess Diana. You gotta love it. Speaking of Wonder Woman, there's going to be a graphic novel released from the God Watch storyline, which includes issues 16, 18, 20, 22, and 24 of Wonder Woman, plus a backup story from the Wonder Woman Annual number 1. This is all by Greg Rucka doing his run with the character. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to, and that's going to be some good stuff this week with All New Wolverine number 25 going to a second print. Wolverine's son and daughter meet up in this, so it makes sense why this is popular. Next up is Amazing Spider-Man number 791. As I mentioned before in Legacy, they're continuing the original numbering. That's why it's so high. This is part 3 of the Fall of Parker storyline. And as you can see, Mockingbird shows up in this issue. Issue number 789 is also going to a second print. That's going to be part 1 of the Fall of Parker. These Alex Ross covers look magnificent. Speaking of second print variants, the Falcon number 1 is also being released as a second print. Sam Wilson is not Captain America. He's the Falcon. That's what he's supposed to be. So I like this. Next up is the Incredible Hulk number 710. And this is part 2 of the Return to Planet Hulk storyline. It's a storyline that's so awesome that Marvel can't help themselves. They just have to return to it. Just like Old Man Logan and Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. There's also going to be a Jack Kirby 100th anniversary variant shown here. R.I.P. to the King. Next up is the Mighty Thor issue 701, and this is part 2 of the death of Mighty Thor. This is comics, folks, so think nerd, which stands for no one ever really dies. So take it with a grain of salt. Also, there's going to be an Alex Ross variant shown here. This is probably the best looking variant for this week. It's just gorgeous. Prices are all over the place on eBay, from $8 up to $50, so we don't know how much it's going to settle at. Next up is Darth Vader number 8, and this is part 1 of a new storyline called Legacy Ends. It's Darth freaking Vader. You should be buying this. Speaking of Darth Vader, we have Dr. Aphra number 14. She came out of the Darth Vader universe, introduced in Darth Vader Volume 1, issue number 3, which I can't stop talking about. She's basically a female Han Solo. I want it in a live action movie, and I want Olivia Munn to play her. Okay. Next up is Weapon X number 11, and the developments in this are just batshit crazy with this Weapon H thing. The hunt for Weapon H concludes in this issue. I'm not a fan because I'm tired of the mashups, but if you are, then you should be getting this. There's a Diodao design variant for this shown here. Once again, prices all over the place on eBay. I don't know where it's going to settle at. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Brilliant Trash number 1 from Aftershock Comics. This is being produced by Tom Seeley, the same writer that gave us Revival. It's described as a sci-fi superhuman epic. and a clickbait headline writing journalist holds the key to a med-tech conspiracy that could turn people into gods. That sounds like this is worthy of taking a shot on. Next up is Casper the Friendly Ghost #2 from American Mythology Productions. This is going to be new stories with Casper, but drawn in the original style from back in the day. It's going to ship with 4 different covers. Next up is Fence #1 from Boom Studios. It is literally a comic book about the sport of fencing. I'm kind of curious to why they thought that would be a good idea for a comic. I guess I'm scratching my head on that one. Next up is Met Cadet #4 of a 4-part miniseries. So this is the conclusion. It's a story that kind of looks like Iron Giant meets Big Hero 6 meets Robotech. It's from acclaimed writer Greg Pak, and issue #1 was the pick of the week for August 2nd, 2017. If you like the 3 projects it's inspired by, then you'll like this too. Next up is Puppet Master, Curtain Call #1 from Dangerzone Comics. This is the final chapter of the epic Puppet Master storyline. This is just very creepy looking, and I'm sure this is cool for horror fans that love this type of stuff. It ships with 5 different covers, and it promises that the variants are limited to 1,500 copies. All covers were selling extremely well on eBay in the pre-sales. Next up is Briggsland Lone Wolves #6, and this is the final part of this miniseries arc. It's about a secessionist compound that wants to lead the United States, and what happens when the wife of its leader takes over after he goes to jail. It's been optioned for a TV show on AMC, so don't chase. Go ahead and get Briggsland #1 from August 17th, 2016, which was the pick of the week that week. It's the first appearance of all the main characters. It's going to be a major sleeper. Don't get caught looking. Get this now. This is from Dark Horse Comics, by the way. Also from Dark Horse is going to be Rasputin #1 of a 5-part miniseries. This appears to be a prequel to Hellboy. You got mad scientists and Nazis, the paranormal, it's just all types of crazy shit from Mike Mignola. He even contributes art for the cover B version on the variant shown here, drawn in that classic Hellboy style that he's known for. Also from Dark Horse and also written by Mike Mignola is Jenny Finn. Man, this guy really knows horror. In this story, a plague that's leaping people covered in tentacles and a slasher that's killing women at night happen at the same time upon the arrival of a strange young girl. I guess that would be Jenny Finn. If I was a Londoner, I would tell her to go back where she came from. Next up, let's see what Image Comics is up to. They always deliver some top-notch quality. First up is Dark Fang. This is the story of a female vampire who lives under the sea, but her aquatic paradise is ruined by a plague. So she returns to the surface world to search for some answers. I like vampire stories, and the advanced art on this look very good. I'll be picking this up, and this is going to be my runner-up pick of the week. It's shipping with just 1 cover, so you don't have a whole bunch of variant chasing to worry about on this. I mentioned The Sender earlier, and issue #26 is out on this ongoing series. You should be reading this. This is one of the best things in space science fiction involving artificial intelligence, injustice, war. It's got it all wrapped up in there. It's a winner of multiple Eisners. I can't say enough about it. It's just fantastic. You know, I probably overused the word fantastic, but that's just one of my favorite words. I guess I'm claiming it back from these guys because that last movie sucked. Oh boy, that's another story. Moving right along. Next up is The Family Trade #2. It's a mix-up of steampunk, alchemy, and adventure meets the ocean. It's about a family of spies, thieves, and assassins in which the youngest member starts a civil war. Justin Jordan, the underrated writer of The Spread, is the guy who's writing this. He's a tremendously gifted writer, and he's underrated. Sort of like how Rick Remender was last year until Seven to Eternity blew up. Personally, I think they missed the opportunity here. The covers are abstract on all the issues so far. If they would have something more realistic looking, I think it would sold better. Next up is Invincible #142. I don't talk enough about this series, and I should because it's still very good. It's been running since 2003. This is part 10 of the End of All Things storyline. Image has had tremendous success with science fiction, crime dramas, and horror. They don't do too much traditional superhero looking stuff, so this is one of the few exceptions. Next up is Maestros #2, and this is from Steve Skores. He started out in comics, but he left to do storyboard art for Hollywood. He returned to critical acclaim with We Stand on Guard in 2015, which was written by Brian K. Vaughan about America invading Canada for its fresh drinking water about 100 years in the future during a drought in America. His artwork is extremely detailed. He wants to prove that he can be a writer on this. Issue #1 is going to a second print, so I'm assuming this has been very well received, right? What's going on here is that an entire royal family has been murdered, and the banished son of the king, who's now on Earth, will inherit the Wizard King's throne. Next up is Realm #3, and if you like post-apocalyptic action, sci-fi adventure, then this is definitely for you. Issue number 1 made a little bit of noise when it came out and quickly went to a second printing. Issue number 2 is also going to a second printing, which is being released this week. Could this be the next 7 to eternity in terms of popularity? Things that make you say, All I know is I'm following this. The art is incredible. The story is not that original, but it's very well executed, and I like where it's going. Next up is the speculation pick of the week. And that's going to be evolution number 1. Basically, the premise is that human evolution has took millions of years to get us to this stage, but human evolution all of a sudden is going to have a rapid increase, and something is accelerating it. And only 3 individuals seem to notice the world is being reborn. First off, I like that idea of what they're trying to accomplish here. Second of all, this is sort of like an ensemble writer's paradise. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 writers are credited for this, including James Asmus, Joseph Keating, Christopher Sabella, and Joshua Williamson, putting all their talents together for one story. You don't see things like this very often, so that's why I think it's even more special. I have to admit, I'm very intrigued. This is the type of stuff you can show people to show them that comic books aren't all about superheroes and spandex. But there's some very top flight science fiction going on that definitely should be taken seriously. Before we wrap this up, there's a few more indies to get to, including Bloodshot Salvation number 3 from Valiant Comics. You heard me talk about this before. This is influenced by the Logan live action movie. Bloodshot has a daughter that has inherited his powers, and the bad guys show up to try to come and take her. The art looks tremendous. The storytelling is off the chain. I don't have any other description other than you should be buying this if you like action of this type. It's the violent action thriller of late 80s, early 90s Wolverine. And it's shipping with 6 different covers and they all look great. Next up is Ninjak number 1. He's being rebooted back to issue number 1. The writer of the Netflix Daredevil live action series is actually writing this comic. I think that's a really good fit for this character. It's a spy espionage action thriller. There's a web series in development for this in live action. We're still waiting to get some more information about when it's going to drop. If it takes them longer to put this out to make it right, that's fine with me. I don't want them to rush it and put some crap out there and it'd be like the Inhumans. If you like Daredevil, James Bond, and Batman, Ninjak is like a mix of all those together. Next up is Alien Bounty Hunter number 2 from Vault Comics. There's no real secret to what's going on in this book. Just read the name of the title. Well, duh. Think of it as Dog the Bounty Hunter, but in outer space. The actor Mark Wahlberg has been involved in the development of this book, so it gives speculation that he may be using this for future material in a live action movie. With the sure to be low print runs and the Hollywood connection, Alien Bounty Hunter sounds like a must pick up for your collection. Right now it has an infrequent publishing schedule. Issue number 1 came out July 26th. You know the drill. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, give it the thumbs up, and share these videos on social media so others learn about comic power. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for New Comic Day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. And don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.